on this fine Monday morning. We've got a 2015 Volkswagen Caddy, which has got a little bit of a leak-a-rooney. Now what I've done, I've removed the timing cover off the left hand side here, and I don't know whether you can see on this little camera now, this is the water pump. Can you see here? The water pump is actually leaking. Now the customer's complaining of about 3 weeks ago he had to top the water up, and ever since then he's got a little bit of like fluid leaking, but he's not topping the coolant up. So I'm thinking, over a bit of time, or certain positions on that water pump, when it's stopping, it is leaking. First things first, what we're going to be doing is disconnecting the battery negative first. We've taken the cap off the coolant reservoir. We're going to take it up in the air now and get the coolant out of it. Now before we fully raise the vehicle, what we're going to do, remove his driver's side front wheel and the inner splash guard. Now you want to get yourself a lovely little receptacle, because we don't like mess on the floor, especially antifreeze, because it's awfully greasy. Now this little metal pipe that runs along the side of the engine mount, 210 mils, and it goes straight up to the back of the EGR cooler up there. Disconnect it and catch all that water. Now we've got the coolant out of the way. Because it's a alternator belt, it is a stretch belt, there's no tensioner on it. We're just going to undo the four M10s and pull that pulley off, and the belts will just come off with it. And then that bottom gearbox engine mount bolt, we can remove that, and then everything else is pretty much up top. Once we've dropped the vehicle back down to working height, we can crack on now. We need to remove a few little bits and bobs from the left hand side here to gain access to the timing belt. We've got the fuel filter housing, which is 310s. That should just pull up out the way and rest on the top of the engine. The DPF pressure sensor bracket, that'll just pull up out the way, and also the coolant tank, that'll come out completely. Now we've got everything out of the way, what I do with the fuel filter is put a little bit of cable tie around the wiring loom and the bracket there. It just stops it flopping about, because there's nothing annoying when something falls in your way. Now what we need to do is get a jack on a block of wood on the bottom of the sump, and we can go around now and remove this engine mount. Once you've removed all your engine mounts now, we can go ahead, hang on, let me just show you this. When you remove your mounts, put them all to one side and put the bolts in them so you're not losing them. Keep everything in one pile nice and neat. We can go ahead now and remove the T30s, which will hold in the little plastic cover on. We'll just pull that out of the way. Now let's get this engine timed up. What we need to do is turn the engine over, and there is some little holes that we need to put these pins into, which are probably about 7 o'clock on the camshaft and about 11 o'clock on the fuel pump. And them little pins just slide in like so, and the same on the crank as well. There is some little arrows on it. I do put Tipex because my eyes are a bit shocking, so I can see a little bit better, that's what I say. And we can just get that now. Can't see. And that's all just slide into the crank, and that is all locked. And then we can go ahead now, remove this tensioner and get the belt off. Once I've removed that timing belt now, I don't know whether you can see down here, it's in the bottom corner, that the water pump is actually leaking. Now I've taken the tension off the belt, so it's not always leaking, it's only every now and again. But anyway, we are putting a brand new one on. It's going to be a shaft Ryan A1, brilliant kit, I'll only use these. In that kit you get all the new bolts, all the tensioners, everything. Now, where's it gone? I don't know if you can see. These are all the old bolts out the pulleys. Look at the old rollers. They've got a bit of contamination on them. So yeah, let's get them changed. How I like to change these water pumps, what I do, put a block of wood underneath the dry shaft in between the subframe there, and you can take this vehicle right up in the air. Now you can see that the water pump is leaking, and we'll get these 310s out now, and we'll let the water drain out into our lovely little receptacle again. Now let's get this water pump back in, and what I do is put a little bit of red rubber grease around the rubber O-ring, and that mating surface up there, just give it a little bit of a clean down with a little bit of 3M Scotch pad, and then we can just, if we can, that should just slide in beautifully, and then we can get it torqued up to 20 Newton meters. Now we're back down to working height again. We need to get these fuel pump pulley and the camshaft pulley, turn them all the way clockwise. We've got the idler at 20 Newton meters, the other idler down there at 20 Newton meters, and this idler at 50 Newton meters and 90 degrees. And you also need to pre-tension the tensioner as well, because you won't get the belt on. It can be a little bit of a faff. And what you do, put an Allen key in it, go to tension it, and then you'll lock it up with the Allen key in place, and that'll keep that tensioner right far back so we can put the belt on. Once you've fitted that belt, now we can get it tensioned up. Now we need to slacken this tensioner off, like so. Then we need to get our 6mm Alky now. We need to turn this clockwise until a little pointer, which you'll see it coming round here now and lining up with that little notch. And then once that notch is lined up, we can get it torqued up to 20 newton meters and then 45 degrees. Beautifully. Once that belt's on now and we're happy with everything, everything is nice and tight, we can go ahead and remove our pins out the pulleys like so, and the one out the crank, and we can turn that crank over now twice and make sure all them lines are lining up correctly. And just like that, with a little bit of magic, we have got this car now, well, van, all back together. We've got some fresh coolant in it. What we're going to do now is get on the key and give it a big start rooning. There you go. Now while we're waiting for that to warm up, whenever you disconnect the battery on these Volkswagens or Audis, you always get the power steering light and the traction control light. The best way to resolve it, full lock left hand down, full lock right hand down, and they both go off. So the van's been ticking over now for about 15 minutes or so, and the temperature gauge is rising ever so nicely. Now what I'm going to do, advise this customer over the next couple of days that his water level may go down, and if it does, we're just going to top it up with a little bit of tap water because we've got plenty of coolant in it. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Let's get us in.